Hello everybody, welcome to this game. This is Dominion League Division E7, Chesstick versus Mistgun. Mistgun first player here. So, we've got Goat, so we can trash fairly quickly. There's also Replace for trashing, which may come into play here. There is not a lot of village support. There's Throne Room, so you can do stuff with Throne Room on actions to play a lot of actions in your turns. And it seems like that might be something you want to work towards. There's also not any plus buy, which makes that a little bit worse. But with things like Enclave, potentially, there's some potential there to get some golds and replace them into provinces. So, we'll see. Mistgun use their coffers to replace early on. I think that can be a good play. It really depends on what the goal is with the replace, if they're going to be using that to turn estates into throne rooms, or I guess you could turn coppers into pixies, get real thin, get your action density up real high, and then you can do stuff with the throne rooms. And Mistgun opts for a pixie with their second buy. Seems pretty standard on a Pixie Kingdom to get that over silver, at least early on, and then you can figure out later what you want to do with the Pixie Boons. C's Gift is probably a pass here. Pixie seems more valuable to me than +2 cards right now, since probably you're just going to buy another Pixie and gain a Throne Room here on your actions. And Mistgun thinking about what to do with respect to the replace and how to figure out how to take that, build the deck going forward here. It's not immediately obvious to me what the optimal line is for building a really good deck. I think you want to get Throne Rooms and you want to get Hunting Grounds. I can also see getting Dismantle here to turn low-cost items into gold, and if you turn a 3-cost into gold and Pixie, and then replace the gold into province, that seems pretty nice. Then again, you probably aren't going to have a lot of 3-costs, and the Pixie pile is probably going to be empty before you're able to do that, which is one challenge here. I think the Pixie pile will end pretty quickly. Mistgun did take the +2 cards, is able to trash an estate. Didn't find the Goat, but he's going to be thin soon enough that I don't think that's a big deal. And is able to pick up something with the 4. Just another Pixie. Seems probably fine. The thing is, you run out of 2 costs pretty quickly here. So you might want to turn the estate into a Throne Room, because later on, in a turn or two, you'll be replacing coppers into pixies. And you can't replace a copper into a Throne Room, but you can with an estate. Again, this board is pretty interesting. There's some kind of giant engine you can build with a ton of Throne Rooms and Hunting Grounds and replaces, and on the very last turn, you can replace Hunting Grounds to provinces and stuff. There's also interesting stuff you can do with Enclave, which lets you gain some VP along the way while you're building, and knowing that you're going to replace those golds into provinces. And something like more simple would be get a bunch of bakers and buy a province every turn. Even in that deck, though, I think you probably want Throne Room, Replace, and Hunting Grounds, as you can Throne Room a Baker and then have enough actions to play the Hunting Grounds. Chesstick did not have quite as much ability to trash estates that shuffle, so they still have a couple of estates in their deck. Probably if you're trying to build up to get 5 costs, you can take that Field's Gift, otherwise you're going to end up with 2 coins here. I would consider taking the Field's Gift. They did not take the Field's Gift, and certainly the Flame's Gift is not necessary. The Pixies will give you some really good gifts soon. The really good gifts, I think, is going to be Earth's Gift here, which lets you discard 2 treasures to gain 2 4-costs. So basically turn 2 coppers into Pixie and Throne Room. That's going to be quite nice. Chesstick gets the Wind's Gift. I would consider taking this here to trigger a good shuffle and try to trash some of these states. I think they're a little bit behind in trashing just because the way the shuffle's worked out, and they want to be able to thin quickly, and the Wind's Gift lets them do that. Normally the Wind's Gift is one of the worst boons, but in certain cases like this, I think it can be really strong. So they did take that, and I would discard here 1 copper, 1 estate. And then you'll draw at least 1 trasher, hopefully 1/3 chance of drawing both. Could be higher if they have a pixie in that remaining deck. One thing to note is you have these nice pixies that do nice things for you, and then they do nice things for you, and then all of a sudden you look up and your deck has no pixies left. Sometimes it can be really helpful to save 1 pixie for late game. And if you're the only one who has a pixie left, you could sort of slowly sift through the pile until you get the perfect boon. For example, Forest's Gift, which gives you plus buy. So if you have a pixie and your opponent doesn't, you have 1/10 of a plus buy that your opponent doesn't. And maybe there's such a high opportunity cost of doing that it's not always worth it. But I think in many cases, especially if you're just in a board like this where you may just be trading provinces at some point, I definitely would have considered passing on that pixie. That seems like a very difficult shuffle. They ended up trashing it to get the +2 cards. We'll see what they do on 4 here. They have 2 buys, so that makes sense to take both the remaining pixies. Yeah, they triggered a somewhat bad shuffle, but the River's Gift gets rid of that. And they did replace into the throne rooms. They are going for some amount of throne room stuff. As I said, I think the throne room is good in almost every deck you can play here. Unless you're playing pure Hunting Grounds money. And as we see, it's turn 5. That was turn 4 for Chesstick. It's turn 5 for Mistgun. So they're both going to be very thin, have very nice, clean decks at turn, essentially 5 and 6. And build up an engine that Hunting Grounds money is just not going to match here. Especially with the ability to replace golds and Hunting Grounds into Province and Lost turn. I think the deck can build quite big and then spam Hunting Grounds and Throne Rooms, and then at the end sacrifice engine pieces for final victory points. I think probably Mistgun's going to take a Throne Room here, and can consider what second action to take. 2 Throne Rooms, okay. Unfortunately, they can't do much with 2 here. I think I might have considered a dismantle over that second Throne Room. You can dismantle the Goat soon into gold Camel Train. I think the Camel Train will be helpful for loading up on Hunting Grounds. And the gold you're happy to have as well because it's a replace target. This is the tricky part of the game where we transition from the early trashing pixie stage to the rapid payload expansion stage. Those are not official names. Yes, Goat costs 2. So you can dismantle it into a gold and a copper. Right. I was thinking you would dismantle the... I don't know what I was thinking. You could start dismantling things, though. For Goat, the nice part about Goat costing 2 is you can dismantle it into copper and province. Then you have a copper left, so I'm not sure that that's the best play then. But I would certainly want to be dismantling things soon to pick up low-cost items. I think 1 Camel Train will fit in this deck well. Again, you can get golds fairly easily with Enclave or just buying golds or replacing something into a gold. And the golds are nice because you can replace them into province, and the Camel Train can set aside a bunch of Hunting Grounds and Throne Rooms. Both of them seem to be playing this kingdom quite well. There's some complexities here. Yeah, as Matt says, there are... we need to start adding payload to the deck soon, otherwise you have a deck that just has a replace and a couple of coppers and Throne Rooms. And you don't really want to, at this stage of the game, be throning replace, especially since all of the cards you want to gain are now costing essentially 4 or 5 or 6, other than maybe the one Camel Train. Camel Train is often just not a very good card. There are a lot of kingdoms where it's not doing a whole lot or it's too slow. But I think situationally it comes up in a lot of, it's not necessarily like the main point of a kingdom here, but I think there are in a lot of kingdoms strategic uses of Camel Train, which is big picture here. I think there's also tactical uses of Camel Train. For example, gain it for the 1 gold and then dismantle it for gold, copper, and you can trash the copper with your goat and then gain a gold with Enclave to get the duchy points, then you get 2 golds. Since we're buy limited here, tricks like that I think become a lot more important. Chesstick gets a Baker. Interesting. I think I'm okay with Baker as the first 5 costs. They couldn't get to Hunting Grounds. It's a good target to Throne Room. I might have considered getting a Band of Misfits there. Band of Misfits can play as Throne Room or Dismantle or as Camel Train. I think you probably still want to buy a actual Camel Train for the free gold gain, knowing that you're going to gain golds in this kingdom later. But I think the Baker's probably okay. You're trying to get to 6 regularly, and that's going to help you do that. Thinking about the Sky's Gift, I suppose. It seems like not a great boon to take here. You can only gain 1 gold, and you're sort of giving up the rest of your turn. But then again, Mistgun has very low payload right now. They've focused on deck control, and it's only turn 6, so it's reasonable. They need to think about how they get money into the deck quickly so they can start buying Hunting Grounds, Baker's, golds, and the order they do that in is pivotal in these kind of kingdoms. So they're thinking about the Sky's Gift. They did not take the Moon's Gift, which is reasonable. The Mountain's Gift, the one that gives 2 silvers, actually at this point of the game, might be useful. Silvers are nice to get your payload up, and then you can replace them into actions a little bit later on once you've got your actions up. But especially if you're playing the deck I'm thinking of, where you have a couple of Hunting Grounds and a bunch of Throne Rooms, then you can do it this way. See, this is the boon I would much rather have taken here. I'd rather have the 2 silvers than the 1 gold. But we'll see if they decide to take the 2 silvers as well. It gives them really strong action, really strong money to deck ratio. They are going to be able to hit 5 and 6 very, very easily for the foreseeable future. And again, they can replace the silvers into Bakers or maybe 1 Band of Misfits here coming up. And again, most of the time, Band of Misfits is just going to be Throne Room, but I think you could play it sometimes at the end of your turn as Camel Train to set it to exile a Hunting Grounds or a Throne Room. They got the Sky's Gift again in the same turn. If you notice, it doesn't say this in the log, but the boon deck was shuffled, so they were able to get the Sky's Gift. Yeah, so for Chesstick, now they start with Throne Room. They've thrown the Will-O-Wisp. I definitely would have thrown to the Baker, knowing how big my deck is. I'm almost certainly going to be able to draw through it, and I really would like that extra money. But they have another throne, so they're going to be able to do that now. Again, I would throne this Baker as well. I don't see much reason to throne the replace. I think the plan for me would be throne Baker, replace silver into Baker. Actually, you can replace silver into Baker first, then throne Baker to draw the silver. And then you should have enough money either to get another Baker or another piece that you want to add. I still am strongly considering this Camel Train. I think you want to be exiling cards from a bunch of different piles. And the size of their deck their deck control, they should be able to gain and play the throne room and the baker. The actions that they should be able to play the camel train to exile an action and then buy that action almost every turn. So this is quite a nice turn. Again, they're moving along. It feels a little slow, but turn 7, so they the decks are really strong here for this point in the game. But they're adding 3 coins to the deck, and they took away 3 coins from the deck this turn. So they're still adding in pieces like bakers and throne rooms, sort of at the ratio they're losing coppers. And starting next turn, probably that's going to ramp up pretty significantly. I assume they'll be looking to throne every baker that they play. I still really like right at this turn buying a camel train. I think you're going to be able to gain a bunch of bakers on it, and a bunch of golds, and throne rooms and hunting grounds, all the things you want to buy. They may be considering that or a throne room. And if they spend a coffer, obviously they're considering the baker. The hunting grounds are too early here. They're drawing deck quite reliably with just having a small deck and a bunch of actions. So they went with their baker. So my guess now would be that Chesstick is just going for the build up bakers and coffers and stuff and go for the single province type deck. But we'll see what they do in this turn. Mystic just did Way of the Goat to trash an estate and bought a baker. Seems reasonable, I guess. I really want to be replacing the estate, but they didn't have much of an option there, so Way of the Goat was a nice alternative, I suppose. That extra 2 coins of money that you lose when you trash an estate rather than replace it is somewhat significant early on in this kingdom. There's a lot of stuff to be done here. But you need to ramp up your money. And I think the 2 fastest ways to do that are camel train and replace. A merchant ship. That to me is quite odd. I'm not quite understanding why they bought a merchant ship. It is a little bit of money, but it doesn't seem to fit in the thread of what they're doing here. Especially in a single buy kingdom, I think the name of the game here is gains. And camel train replace are the best way to get those gains. We've kind of moved past the dismantle portion of the game. But I suppose one could still get a dismantle here to dismantle, even dismantling a baker into gold and camel train seems fine. What's the order on that like? So you can gain the camel train first, and then the baker, so you can actually gain the gold the same turn as you buy it if you do that. And I would rather at this point have a baker and a camel train. 2 golds and a camel train in my deck than 1 baker. Neither of those particularly great boons, so it looks like they'll pass on those. And we'll see if they replace silver into baker here and go for the baker stuff, or if they go for an alternate strategy. Yeah, so that's interesting what Matt is saying. You buy Enclave, which exiles a duchy, gain a gold. The next turn you replace the gold into province, giving your opponent a curse, and you buy Enclave again. You are adding provinces to your deck slowly, but you're also getting those extra duchies. So you're getting quite strong payload there. I am not sure that's adding 9 victory points to your deck each turn is quite nice. And Chesstick does feel a little bit ahead, I think, due to the way that 4th shuffle came out. Obviously, that can be beat here, but to do that, you need, I think, to be gaining golds and hunting grounds to do that. So you need to have the camel train already, or to already have some of those pieces. Mistgun does have the gold from the Sky's Gift. They replaced a goat into a throne room, so now they're going to be able to throne Baker. I guess throne Baker. I don't I guess you could also throw in Merchant Ship. It's not clear to me if one of those is strictly better than the other. Certainly they have 2 throne rooms and 2 bakers and 1 merchant ship, so they certainly can throne this first one. Trivially, the question is what they do with the second throne room target. They are completely thin now. All of their cards are either cantrips or payload cards, so that's throne room. I'm calling throne room replace and merchant ship payload cards. I guess you could call throne room an engine piece, but then they've got will-o-wisps and bakers, so this is their deck, and they look to be able to do what they're doing right now pretty reliably every turn for the rest of the game, at least for the next 4 or 5 turns until they've got until they've got enough provinces that it clogs up their deck. They did go for the Enclave stuff. I think even a deck where you don't do Enclave replace into province every turn, you're okay doing a couple of Enclaves early. Sometimes you're not sure if you hit 8 if you should buy a province or buy a gold, and Enclave makes that decision much easier. Chesstick now leading with the baker, probably will throw in the second baker, and can throw in this pixie. I believe that's the last remaining pixie, and now it is gone. So there are no pixies left. I think we're going to regret that Swamp's Gift. I think the number of 0 and 2 cost cards in the deck is about to go to 1 with just a goat next turn. They are throne room targets, I guess, if you're looking for a deck that has lots of +1 card, +1 actions to target with throne rooms. But I think they're hoping also to have enough bakers to make it so they can throne room a baker. I think I would wait to try to get either Earth's Gift or Forest's Gift. And this gun needs to ramp up payload here very, very quickly. Again, I'm going to suggest the Camel, which is maybe they're not thinking about, because early on in this kingdom it wasn't particularly good. But if they use Camel Train, they're able to basically gain 6 coins worth of items every turn. And even the turn they buy the Camel Train, they gain 6 coins worth of items. As it is, Chesstick is gaining, for 8 money, they're gaining essentially the gold, which is 6 coins worth, and then replacing the province. So essentially for 9 VP, they're spending 8 money to gain 9 VP, is how the math works there, if I do that correctly, which is a very good rate of return in Dominion. And they got another baker. So I think at this point, Chesstick is pretty far ahead. I think probably I would consider going for a more changing gears here. Thinking, my opponent's doing a similar thing to what I want to be doing, but they seem to be at least 1 turn ahead of me. And since they are going to, for example, win the Duchy split here 5-3 if they trade off Enclaves every turn. So I think you need to consider going aggressive here and trying something that's maybe not necessarily the best possible line in terms of your expected value, but has a higher variance because you need to make up for the little bit of delta here. And most of that, I think, can be explained by just boons. I didn't particularly like the Sky's Gift take, but I think that was a mistake by Chesstick. I'm not sure why they did it that way. They could have played the Wisp and then thrown to Baker, which is, I think, what Matt is saying. Unless they're doing something interesting here. Okay, yeah, so they could have played the Wisp and then thrown a Baker and ended this turn with an extra coffer. One really nice thing about the way they're playing this is, in theory, if they have a complete absolute dud turn, they draw 4 provinces and a throne room, or 2 throne rooms and 3 provinces. In theory, they can, with a merchant ship in play, spend 6 coffers, still buy a province. So the worst dud turn with these extra coffers is still going to be a province, and they can continue. The next turn then should be really nice. That won't happen for quite a while because they only have the 1 green card in their deck here, and the other 2 duchies in exile. And then if they draw the gold without the replace, then it's just more money that they can spend. So they built a pretty nice, it's not quite a golden deck because they are adding in a province every turn. So we'll see what Mistgun does here. There's not really good targets to replace the gold into, to throne room. It's not really good targets to throne room because you really only want to replace the gold. And if they don't have that gold, I don't think they can get to 8 again. They can if they spend all their money, but that feels bad. So we'll see what they decide to do here. Any thoughts you sort of have about trashing your goat, replacing your goat into a engine piece, kind of go away once you start getting cursed and you realize that Chesstick is going to give you a curse every turn for the rest of the game, unless they have a dud. So we'll see what their plan is here. What are they replacing their throne room into? Another gold, 100 grounds? Okay. And again, I would strongly consider buying this camel train here. But they're just going to buy the throne room. The 100 grounds is somewhat nice if you have a thicker deck. It helps you draw through the deck. If you only have one in the whole deck, it's tough to make that work. And yeah, it's just if you only have one in the whole deck, it's tough to make that work. But we'll see. Chesstick is seeing the problem they do have with their deck is that they have only +1 cards, and if they don't draw their throne rooms early on, well, this is quite unfortunate. I think the bottom 2 cards of their deck are throne room. They can pretty safely throne room merchant ship here. It's worth 2 coins next turn. The throne room's out of the shuffle, but it's giving you 2 coins, so you're not an extra 2 coins. You're not that mad about that. Instead, they're going to throne room replace. Okay, I think this is a smarter play. They're able to give 2 curses to their opponent and mill a province. What I mean by that, if you're watching on YouTube, is that they are losing a province to gain a province. So it's net VP neutral for them, but it gives their opponent a curse, and it shortens the game because there's fewer provinces in the province pile. And if they feel like they're ahead, which they seem to be, they can end the game quicker, and even if Mistgun is able to build a better engine up, they're not going to have enough time to come back. So Mistgun possibly going to be able to throne room a replace here and replace a hunting grounds into province and gain a duchy. Not into that quite yet this early. I think you still want to be using the hunting grounds to do things with your deck, but we'll see. So they can play the Baker now. Probably. We'll see if that's what they decide to do. The only card in their discard pile is the Curse, so they can definitely trash a Curse this turn. And potentially have 7... have 4 money in play and 7 coffers available to them. But this is quite tough a spot that they're in. Down a couple of provinces and a couple of duchies. Trying to find a line that gives them the best chance to come back. We'll see if they can come up with one. Earlier on I thought the camel train line was the way to come back. You camel train a bunch of hunting grounds, and then you, on your last turn, get, second to last turn, you get a hunting ground, and then you throne room replace them all into province and gain a bunch of estates or something to pile out. But it seems that Chesstick's going to be able to end the game before that happens. Last turn, if you see, Chesstick was able to gain a province, a duchy, mill a province, and give out 2 curses. So, at a small cost to their own deck of adding 1 green card, they dealt out 2 curses and shortened the game by effectively a full turn. Maybe effectively a half turn, but we'll see what Mistgun comes up with here. trying to think of from this position, their expected value of winning this game is somewhat low. Chesstick got out to an early start and got their deck online first. Some of that was due to the Pixie Boons. Some of that was due to which Pixie Boons you choose to take. So they did get rid of the goat to get the camel train. Okay, so they're going for the camel train stuff now. It feels 2 turns too late. The camel train stuff is slow, which is why it's not like the greatest line. But they are able to play it this turn, gain something they want. We'll see what that is. If that's a throne room, hunting grounds, replace Baker. They went with just gold. I assume they're going to enclave here. Yeah. So they've been able to add some golds to their deck. I think they're going to struggle now to actually draw all of that, but we'll see. We'll see how they're able to do. Potentially, they have the ability to throne room replace 2 golds to gain double province, and Chesstick cannot gain 2 provinces in a turn with their current deck, but they can mill provinces fairly quickly. Again, Chesstick is not netting a ton of draw in their deck, so their deck does struggle a bit to draw. They're thinking here about whether they want to draw on with the Baker or Throne Room to replace to do the same trick they did last turn. Yeah, I think that's probably fine, and then they buy an Enclave and claim that essentially they're at 50% VP remaining. Once they finish their turn, I'll calculate what the 50% VP is and explain what that means for this kingdom. Most people listening in live know what that is, but hopefully those watching this recording are familiar with that concept. But if not, I can explain it, and it's useful to do the calculations out, I think, just for practice. So essentially they can net another 9 VP this turn. Well, they'll have 29, and Mistgun will have 2 curses, so they'll be down to 0. And there will be 3 provinces and 3 duchies and 7 estates left in the deck. 3 plus 3 plus 3 is 9. Sorry, if you do 6 plus 3 plus 1, it's 10. So you would have 10 times 3 is 30. There'd be 34 points left in the piles after that. And Chesstick would have 29 points. So Mistgun essentially would need to get all of the remaining provinces and duchies in order to win at that point. John asks why you'd buy Enclave over Province. That's sort of the strategy they've been going for, doing the Enclave stuff and then replacing the gold into Province. I think the answer is that replacing gold, that's a Province. They're able to net an extra Province out of it, but at some point, you can just say, I seem like I'm 2 turns ahead now, I'm just going to buy provinces, the simple solution. It's not clearly that much better to me. I think as watching it, it seemed to make sense what they were doing. Just buying province this turn. Okay, so yeah, if they play replace to turn 2 provinces into turn a gold into province, mill a province, and then play Baker, buy a province, they've got 32 VP, and Mistgun essentially has 3 VP for this duchy, assuming that they are able to buy to trash all the curses, which is actually not that expected at this point. And there would be left in the piles 12 plus 12 plus 7, 31 VP. So essentially, Chesstick would be at, roughly speaking, 50% VP. And they have used their coffers, but Enclave and Province cost the same, so we'll see if that's what they want to do. Essentially here, Chesstick can buy a province, and then if they buy essentially 1 more duchy, I think the game is effectively over. They cannot be caught. They cannot catch up Also worth noting that I believe Mistgun has 6 curses now in their deck, 5 curses now in their deck, and it's going to be very, very tough for them to keep playing out once they trigger these shuffles with curses in them. So, yeah, good game there for Chesstick. Some of that was the boons. I think we didn't like Mistgun taking the Skies boon, Skies gift, but that's not necessarily game losing. Other than that, Chesstick got their payload online very quickly and was able to get a lot of points and only turn 11, so they were quite nice decks. Well played by Chesstick. I think Mistgun also played it pretty good. I think Chesstick played it just a little bit better and got the win. Moving to game 2.